God bless, and welcome to God's Healing Answer, a talk show created to encourage its listeners as we discuss relevant topics in a postmodern world. This show is created by Pastor Barbara Potop and is hosted by Pastor Mike Husley. Let's check in now with Pastor Mike as we discover that Jesus is God's healing answer.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to God's Healing Answer. I'm here with my faithful co-host. Mary is with us this afternoon once again. Mary, say hi to everybody.
Holy greetings from God's Healing Answer.
Well, I'm glad you're that spiritual. We need to be spiritual on this show. It's a spiritual thing.
It is.
So we're glad to be here, of course. We got a wonderful topic, and today we're talking a little bit about the expectations that we have in our relationship with the Lord, but also in the plans that we think God has for us. You know, it's interesting. We think we know the plans that God has for us, and the scriptures don't say we know. You know, the Bible talks about He knows the plans.
Yeah, it does.
That He has for us. And
I didn't think about that.
We want to talk about that today, but the aspect of how things don't exactly pan out the way that we think God is thinking.
We don't know it all.
Yeah, so that's our topic today. Probably expectations that didn't play out. And so if you have a story in your life you want to share with us, you can do that. You can call in at 702-650-5588, 702-650-KKVV. Give us a call. Got a gift for you as well. Of course, we do that. We like to do that because we appreciate people going out of their way, overcoming their fear, and calling in to God's Healing Answer. Yeah.
For a gift card.
For a gift card. $10. It's worth $10.
Yeah.
Today we got Amazon Prime. Today. Hey, we had somebody email us last week in regards to our topic. We talked about how, you know, God is the God of second chances.
Yes.
And so we talked about Peter, and we had the I don't know if anybody remembers, but we had the rooster.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, something like that. And our friend commented on that. His name is John. Thank you, John, for
Hey, John,
emailing.
what's up?
Yeah, so you can email, you can call, and we can just put you on the prayer list, talk a little bit, and just encourage each other. So we're going to do that. Before we do that, we need to talk about who we are, where we're from, in case we have new listeners this afternoon. It's the Mike and Mary Show, God's Healing Answer, of course, created by Pastor Barbara Potop, Reverend Barbara Potop.
Thank you, Pastor Barbara.
We do. We appreciate her. She's been doing it for, I think, 7-8 years. We've been doing it for 3. So God's Healing Answer has been on for 10 years. Wow.
That's a sign of God's favor.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And our hard work, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And so we're from Trinity Life Center Church, and we're centrally located. Our address is 1000 East St. Louis. Our cross streets are Maryland Parkway and Sahara, so that kind of central, right next to Baker Park, and then also Fremont Middle School. It's a real great location there. And our senior pastor is Randy Greer.
Yes.
And he's been with the church for a while now, and so we appreciate him as the lead pastor. And we have services at 10.
Yes.
Tell them a little bit about
Sunday.
Yeah, thank you. Sunday and Wednesday, of course.
Yeah,
and tell our listeners a little bit about the 9 o'clock hour on Sunday.
Well, the 9 o'clock hour is the Christian education hour, or the Sunday school hour, however you want to put that. And it's a great opportunity for people of all ages to assemble in small groups. Meet new people and learn more about the Bible and about their Christian walk.
Oh, we have a great time, and we got our teachers are just wonderful. The adult teachers, and we have, we got Natalie, we got Melissa and Andrea. They're all our kids teachers, and they just have a great time. If you're willing to get up a little earlier, it's going to be worth getting up that losing maybe a little bit of sleep.
It's well worth it
to be fed of the Lord. And so we're happy to invite every one of you. You can always go on our website if you like, which is trinity-life.org.
Yes.
And they can go on there and kind of check everything out. You and I always encourage everybody to go on the main page, go on the drop down where it says ministries, go down to children's ministries, and check out everything that you and I do with the kids. Yeah, it's a good time.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
For the kids, too. It's entertaining.
I don't know who's blessed more, us or the kids. I'm not sure. I would say us.
I don't know.
We probably
Maybe
should say us.
Even Stephen.
Because we don't want to be,
Yeah.
The kids, they come up to every time I feel like, hey, man, children's ministry, how long am I going to do this? Some kid will come up and and hug me.
Yeah, or draw you a picture.
Or draw me a picture. It's
or make
wonderful.
you a card.
It is priceless. It really is. Okay, let's go ahead and again, we're just going to remind everybody who may be listening in that the number here is 702-650-5588. Sometimes I say that number wrong, but can't help myself. But today I'm saying it right. And then if you're on video, it's over my left shoulder, which could be your right shoulder, or looks like my right shoulder. But there's a number up there. You can call that. And you have the privilege of talking to Sharon. You can call in and see if Sharon, if she answers the phone properly.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
See if she's there.
Yeah. We're gonna get her busted. We got to tell Sharon to always be on when God Healing Answer is on. You got to be.
That's right.
Look alive, right? Okay.
That's right.
All right, we're gonna get started here, everybody. Expectations. There was a book or a movie called The Great Expectations.
There's a book. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that goes way back, and I'm not sure exactly all the details about it. Probably should have mentioned it, but the thought that this word expectation is something that we have an idea that it's something we expect, of course.
That's right.
And a lot of times in our own lives, and again, God's Healing Answer, we want to be practical. We want to help people know how do you spiritually deal with things in life that you deal with on a daily basis.
Right.
And this is something that we deal with every day. We have letdowns. We have expectations that we have. We get excited about something and then it falls apart.
And disappointment.
And it's even more difficult when we feel like we are in tune with the Lord. We're praying, we're seeking, we're knocking, we're asking,
right.
We're believing, we're holding on to our faith. And God gives us signs to show us that, we very much, we could be on the right path. And it just looks like it all makes sense. I had something in my life that I don't want to disclose, but there was something I thought was going to come together. And man, I took notes. I mean, I put them in my phone. There's 30 different bullet points on, wow, Lord, it really seems like, Lord, that it's going to go this way.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And it totally fell apart. And that expectation, not a promise, of course, but an expectation fell apart. I thought I knew God's mind.
Yeah.
I thought I knew his plan.
That's hard.
It is really hard. And so we want to help people. And I'm still kind of working through that and learning to just trust and know that, hey, God's bigger than what I think or how I think things should play out. And did I miss the boat? I don't know. But God is going to take these expectations, and even if they go awry,
that's right.
He is still his glory is going to be seen. And that's what life's all about. It's not about our glory. It's not about what we want to get, and what we think. It's about God being glorified through all things in our life.
That's true. It's not about us.
It's not about it. We want to bring the Bible in on this, and there's a great Bible story about a great character, and of course that's Samson.
Samson, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, without even going further, people can already see, yeah, you're kind of right. Samson was set aside to be something great, a spiritual leader, actually a judge. Which back then was pretty much a king.
A military leader,
right?
A military leader called a judge because he was in a military position and influence. He was able to execute judgment against Israel's enemies when it was time to do so.
Yeah. So leadership position.
Yes.
And I'm going to let you go backwards a little bit because it's interesting. I didn't realize that Samson's mother is not named in the Bible. And so not that it's a huge deal. I assumed, his mom would be named. His father's named, Manoah, right? He's named in there. But they had a great thing that played out. And I want you to share some of that so we can see how this leads up to how these parents, for right reason, had a great expectation for their son because of a promise, actually. But it didn't play out like they would obviously, for good reason, assume. So I'm going to let you jump in wherever you want to jump in there on the story so people get a little bit of background and then we kind of move forward.
Okay, so the story of Samson starts in the book of Judges. There were many judges. Samson was one of the bigger ones. And so the judges, they had many judges throughout really from the time of when Moses appointed judges, because there were so many Israelites, he was going crazy. And the elders told him, appoint judges. So the Israelites would oftentimes get away from God's laws, and then he would have to bring judgment against them. He would bring in some foreign power to overtake them, and then they would cry out and repent to the Lord. Then he would raise up a judge or a leader to deliver them from that, and they would be good for a while, and then back to their old ways, kind of like you and I at times.
Yep.
And so at this time, the enemies were the Philistines, which were nearby neighbors. And so it was time for the Lord to deliver them out of the hands of the Philistines, which they had been in for 40 years.
Wow.
Kind of like they were in judgment wandering through the wilderness for 40 years. Here's another 40-year period, which is significant.
Yeah.
And then it talks about there was a certain man from Zorah, that was a city in Israel, and his name was Manoah, came from the clan of the Danites, had a wife who was sterile and childless, and one day an angel of the Lord appeared to her and said, "You are going to conceive and have a son." And then the angel went on to say, "Now see to it that you drink no wine or other fermented drink, and that you do not eat anything unclean, because you will conceive and give birth to a son. No razor may be used on his head, because a boy is to be a Nazarite, and will begin the deliverance of Israel from the hands of the Philistines." So that was a Nazarite vow.
And that's from the angel.
Those conditions,
so
yes.
they're getting some pretty specific details, which is pretty great.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can't think of the right word.
That
it's
would have been
wonderful.
good news. Not only was she to become pregnant,
right,
she was going to deliver a super kid.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be just any child. There's something specific. They're saying, hey, this is going to play out. Here's what's happening.
Right.
And they get a message, not a letter in the mail.
Right.
They got it from an angel. And
in person.
In person. And when you were reading that, I want to just encourage any husband and wives out there, if they're not able to have kids, look at the stories in the Bible and continue to hold on, have faith, keep praying. And I hope an angel appears to you and says you're going to have a child. I don't know if it's going to work like that for you, but let's hold on and have faith. That doesn't really have anything to do with our topic today, but I thought that.
I do like that, and I would suggest anyone who is childless and wants to have a child, I believe that what you do is you say, "Lord, if you will give me a child, I will dedicate him to you and for your purpose." And then watch out. Watch out.
And then, of course, adopting is wonderful too. Nothing wrong with adopting. There's a great need out there. Yeah. So go ahead, continue with the story there. The angel, the angel shows up, is talking to the wife, Manoah's wife, and something else plays out here as well as you go a little further.
And then Manoah, she went to her husband and told him what the angel had said, and Manoah said, she said, "A man of God came to me, looked like an angel," and so on. And he said, "I will conceive," and the conditions of that I myself, meaning the woman, she was to take on the vow of a Nazarite as well. So from the beginning, she was to practice the Nazarite vow and also to dedicate her son as a Nazarite.
Yep.
And so Manoah prayed to the Lord, and he was real impressed, and he did a really interesting thing. He said, "Lord, I need you to come again and tell me how to bring this child up."
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
He
has it in his heart and his mind. He wants to live up to his duties and responsibilities as a parent and be able to direct this child the way God wants him to. So that speaks to parents today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the angel appeared again to the wife, and then she called her husband to tell her husband, said, "He's here. The man who appeared to me the other day." And then he got up and followed his wife, came to the man, the husband, Manoah, and the angel said, "Yes, I am he." And then the husband asked him, "When your words are fulfilled, what is to be the rule for the boy's life and work?" So he wanted to hear it from himself.
Wow.
And then the angel just repeated what he had said to the wife. She was to dedicate herself as a Nazarite, and also her son as well, and so that was the beginning of the story of Samson.
Okay, yeah. It's the neat thing I see here too is that if you don't know how to bring up your kids, you're struggling, you're not sure what to do. Why not ask God?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Manoah did.
Yeah.
It's like, help me to know exactly what I'm supposed to do here. And then there's faith too. You can't just ask and say, okay, Lord, make it happen. No, you have to trust and have faith.
Well, you partner with God.
You partner with Him.
There's some things you have to do, and there's some things that God does.
I would
it's
say
a partnership.
I would say meet God halfway. You got to do your part.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on there. So we're seeing that Samson isn't born yet, but the parents are, a miracle already happens. A couple of them actually. She's sterile and she's going to become with child, and then she does come with child, and so they're seeing all this play out. How exciting, to have an angel appear, and I don't know where their faith was. Well, if you saw an angel and they spoke to you audibly, you'd probably have a pretty tremendous amount of faith. But then she conceives, and she feels maybe the baby kick for the first time, and it's what a great journey, right?
An excitement.
Yeah, so that expectation is building. It's like, wow, the angel said it. It's actually playing out. He said that we're supposed to bring him up a certain way because there's a certain purpose for his life.
Exactly.
I'd be a little nervous.
Yeah, the angel told him that the Lord was going to use the baby to help begin to deliver the Israelites from the Philistines.
Well, no small task, that's for sure.
No.
Okay, all right. So go ahead and continue on. It doesn't. The middle gets a little bit veers a little bit out of the expectation. So, and a lot of people know the story. If they don't, they can read 13 and Judges 13 and 14.
14, 15, and 16.
Okay.
I think there's 4 chapters to it. So when Samson begins to grow up, he begins to feel. It says here in 13 verse 25, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir in him when he was growing up.
Okay.
And then he becomes of age, and he's looking around for a wife, and instead of following the rules of the Deuteronomy and Exodus, and he doesn't find a woman or a girl in Israel, and he goes outside, and about 6 miles from his hometown there was a Philistine town, and he finds a woman there, and he desires her.
Okay.
And so he goes home and he tells his father, "Get this woman for me." And his father, and his parents said, "Son, isn't there someone here in the whole land of Israel that you wouldn't care for and love, here in our own people?" And he just said, "Get me this woman for my wife." It didn't sound very respectful.
So I'm thinking, kids, this is for the young people too.
Yeah.
Listen to your parents, or listen to godly influences in your life. Our guidelines are potentially as strict as they were, like you mentioned in Deuteronomy. Our in our day and age, the God's word tells us don't be unequally yoked.
Yes.
And there's a lot of importance to that.
Yeah.
As you were reading that, I was thinking to myself, I found a woman who loves the Lord and a church goer, and the same mind as me as far as faith and belief. And we've been married. We'll be celebrating 30 years this year.
Yeah.
So God's ways work. Samson got out of God's directive and is kind of doing things for himself here. Dad's trying to redirect.
Yeah.
Kids, listen to your parents. God, your parents, they know some things. They're trying to redirect. He's not listening.
Yeah, you always say to your kids, "I know some things because I've seen some things."
Yeah. Mary, we're getting down.
Little do they know.
We are getting down to 7 minutes. I want you to be. I want you to be able to get through more of the middle here, and then the
Okay.
the end of the story is pretty wonderful.
Okay, well, there's so much in it. I encourage our listeners to go and read the whole account. Well, eventually, he has a couple incidences of this. Just he doesn't have control of his sensuality.
Okay.
And he encounters women from there, prostitutes and so on, and the story goes on. And one day he's down with the Philistines, and he comes into contact with Delilah. And now this woman he really loves. And so he, let's see, he plans to marry her, and
Well, and Delilah, so she was a Philistine.
Yeah, and so he wants to marry her.
Sure,
and
he can't help himself.
Yeah, and so when the Philistines find out that he's attracted to her, now they know that is his weakness. So they go to Delilah and say, we will give you lots of silver, 1,100 pieces of silver each, which was a fortune, if you can get Samson to tell you the secret of his strength. So she pesters him, and he says, well, if you get a fresh willow branch and tie me, up. And so she does that, and he awakens, and he just throws that off his hands. And then she cries at him again. He says, well, fresh ropes, do that. And then she wakes him up, the Philistines are upon you. And he throws those ropes off, and then she cries and pesters him again. And so he says, well, if you weave my hair into a loom and you secure it, then my strength will be gone. And so she does that. And, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. He wakes up and he breaks that off. And then she's just, she pesters him to death. Mm-hmm. And so finally he says, well, the secret is in my hair. And if you take a razor to my hair, he had 7 locks of braided hair with the razor, then my strength will be gone. So that night when he slept, she had a man come in and cut off his hair, and then they were able to take him away to the land of the Philistines. They gouged out his eyes, and they chained him with brass handcuffs, mm-hmm. and made him grind the grain of the Philistines.
So think about the pain he's putting his parents through. I don't know how much of this they witnessed, but think of the collateral damage of making wrong choices, bad decisions. Mm-hmm. They say love is blind. He allowed himself to get to a place where he felt like he couldn't turn back, mm-hmm. or he didn't care to turn back anymore. Parents are watching this. His parents are watching this. They had this expectation, felt they had a promise from God. Mm-hmm. Just quickly, I think what we can tell parents, if you're in this situation where you see your kids going wayward, or they're not, living up to the spiritual expectation that you had, some of the things we know that we can do. Me being a parent, I would say that we need to, as a parent when they're younger, need to try to redirect them. Don't enable your kids. Mm-hmm. Don't be their friend. You are not their friend. Yeah. You are their parent. Right. So don't feel bad about being tough. You're just tough love, right? Redirect your kids like Manoah was trying to do, but Samson still wouldn't listen. He was older now. Mm-hmm. We need to pray. Pray is huge. Yes. Just be a praying parent. Continue to pray, believe, hold on to God's promises. There's promises in His Word. We want to continue to compliment our kids. We want to motivate with encouragement.
Yes.
So we encourage them along their path.
Very fruitful.
We let them do some things that we maybe don't think would be fruitful, mm-hmm. but we let them do it because we want to support them. Yeah. And those are some things.
And they can learn by their mistakes.
They can. You got to let them. You got to let them. So those are some things you can do. Now let's get to how God redeemed the errors of Samson's way. Finally, Samson does the smartest thing he probably ever did, other than having a relationship with God. He redirected himself. His eyes had to get plucked out.
Yeah, they plucked out his eyes, I believe, so that he couldn't run away. He wouldn't know where to go, and also he couldn't fight people that he couldn't see. Mm-hmm. And also it was kind of a judgment because his sin was of his eyes, from his eyes. All right.
So tell us how God continue, even though things don't play out the way we think they are, in the end, God is still going to be faithful and come through. You got 2 minutes to tell us.
So one day when the Philistines were celebrating the fact that they had this mighty man of Israel, they finally had him, contained. They had a celebration in the temple of their god, which is Dagon, D-A-G-O-N, which was a man fish. And so they had this huge temple that fit 3,000 people on the roof. And so they wanted entertainment. So they said, bring out Samson so we can make fun of him. Mm-hmm. Well, what they forgot is the secret of his strength was his long hair, and it had grown back. How stupid. So they put him, and they put him his arms between the pillars of the temple. And while he was there, all the leaders were there under the temple, all of them. there must have been, I don't know, 8 or 10,000 people altogether. And Samson prayed one last time to God to strengthen him so that he could die, doing God's will. And so he fell. He fell down like on his knees, and with his strength, he brought down the temple of Dagon. Their temple, their god fell, and all the people were killed. And he killed more people that day than he did in his whole life.
Wow. It was into the thousands,
A one-man army.
Wow. That is something. The neat thing about the takeaway from our topic today is, number one, we think we know God's plans, and if things don't play out the way we thought God should make them play out, don't be surprised. But God, whatever plays out, whether it be good or bad, especially bad, God is going to honor your faithfulness and redeem the situation so that He can be glorified.
He doesn't fail.
No, and He doesn't let any error, any suffering go wasted. Thank you again for being here with us today on God's Healing Answer. We look forward to being with you again next week. Amen?
Yay, yes.
God bless.
Thank you for joining us today on God's Healing Answer. We would love to hear any feedback you may have by reaching out to us at godshealinganswer@gmail.com. And if you're looking for a Bible-based church, come join us at Trinity Life Center for a 10 a.m. service on Sundays at 1000 East St. Louis Avenue with our lead pastor, Randy Greer. We look forward to spending more time with you next week. So until then, know that Jesus is God's healing